The only Yakima news team taking action for you. KIMA Action News.
And good evening, everyone, and thank you for staying up with us. And we begin tonight in Olympia, where Governor Inslee has laid out his proposed budget. Now, you might recall, in his 2012 campaign, Inslee said he was not going to raise taxes, but now he is calling for a tax on capital gains, raising the cigarette tax, and adding a tax on e-cigs. All this to shrink a projected $2 billion budget gap over the next 2 years. And as Keith Eldridge tells us tonight, the big beneficiary from the governor's proposal is education. And it is our big story.
There is one simple fact. We cannot balance this budget and educate our children on cuts alone. At this point, we ought to ask that wealthier person to step up to the plate, make some contributions.
The governor wants a 7% tax on those whose capital gains are more than $25,000 a year on the sales of stocks and bonds, $50,000 for joint filers.
At those earning thresholds, fewer than 1% of the state taxpayers would be affected.
And instead of paying more at the pump and increased gas taxes, the governor is proposing to go to the state's largest industrial companies, many of them refineries, and charge them for the privilege of polluting. It's the governor's carbon emissions tax.
I think that's great if it's not going to be passed on from the refinery back to us.
But Senator Andy Hill, the lead budget writer in the Republican-controlled Senate, says that's exactly what will happen.
You may tax a company, but that trickles down. If gas prices go up, that hits everybody, and quite frankly, it has the biggest impact on the working families.
Hill says they won't look for new taxes, but stay within existing state income. The state's teachers like much of what they heard about pay raises and some class size reductions, but only in kindergarten through 3rd grade, even though voters approved class size reductions for all grade levels in Initiative 1351.
We can't wait. There's no more kicking the can down the road. It's time to fully fund education. K through 3 is nice, but we have to do more.
And the good news for shoppers like those here at the mall, no new sales tax except a 50-cent tax on cigarettes and a new tax on e-cigarettes.
And all of this will get hashed out when the legislature goes back into full session on January 12th. And bringing the focus back home, Yakima has suspended the head of the Utilities and Engineering Department. The manager is accused of using her work phone to send too many personal texts. Now she's off the job without pay. And in an era of unlimited texting plans, Samina Engel asked the city manager whether this punishment makes sense.
The headline can be surprising. The director of Yakima's Utilities and Engineering Department is off the job without pay. You'd likely expect something egregious was uncovered, and according to the city of Yakima, Debbie Cook's behavior was egregious. She sent 1,300 personal texts from her work-issued cell phone over roughly a year. A study done last year found most adults over 35 send and receive about 1,000 texts a month.
Would we accept an occasional personal text message? Yeah, but exceptional. 1,300 is too many. 4 or 5 a day is too many, and so we made that crystal clear to Debbie, and hopefully it's a lesson to others.
Cook went through a disciplinary hearing. Her punishment was leveled as 2 weeks without pay. She's been off the job since December 8th. There's no set number for what's too many texts, but since city-issued phones have unlimited data plans, I asked O'Rourke if the punishment fit the crime. But given that it's not eating into city resources, why would it matter?
Well, it's eating into city time. When that person is spending time with personal text, that's time they're not spending on their job.
Cook oversees major engineering projects throughout Yakima, including the recent water main break along Yakima Avenue. O'Rourke called her a good employee. Most people I talked to agreed with the city manager's decision, saying work phones are for work. Malcolm Stewart had a different view.
I think it's a little harsh.
As for the 1,300 texts,
I know people who do that in a day.
I mean, do you think this policy is antiquated?
We can look at it, but it's intended to be restricted because we're dealing with the use of public resources.
Cook is set to return to work Monday. In Yakima, Samina Engel, Action News.
Now, O'Rourke wouldn't say what was in the text or who Cook was texting. That information can generally be obtained, though, with a public records request. And to get all sides, we reached out to Cook but did not hear back from her. And a man is facing homicide charges accused of providing the drugs that resulted in a deadly overdose. 22-year-old Jesse Arroyo is an accused heroin dealer. He is now charged with the death of Tanner Hester, who died in April. Police found Facebook messages between the two which suggested that Arroyo was the dealer. 2 similar cases where people were charged with controlled substance homicide happened last year. And a man accused of a Yakima carjacking also appeared in court today. Authorities say 19-year-old Yvonne Velasquez Sanchez stole two cars at knife point last week. A 14-year-old girl is also a suspect in the crimes. The pair was arrested in the Sunnyside area. And Yakima police say that Velasquez Sanchez is also a suspect in a series of armed robberies. 3 more suspects were arrested in those cases today. The latest suspects are 2 18-year-old men and a 15-year-old boy. Police say all 3 are students at Sunnyside High School. The group is accused of robbing 4 stores since Halloween. 2 are in Yakima, 1 in Sunnyside, and 1 in Toppenish. And a bomb squad from the training center was called out to check a suspicious backpack found at the Social Security building. The entire building was evacuated, and the police shut down Fruitvale Boulevard for about 2 hours until getting the all clear. Security had called for the bomb squad after seeing something suspicious in a person's bag. Nothing dangerous was found.
Well, rain will be very much a part of our weather heading into the next 24 hours. Most of it very light overnight, but we are talking about a lot of rain potentially moving in heading into our weekend. Now tonight we could see some snow in the mountains, especially along the east slopes of the Cascades, but after that it's all rain and a very active storm track headed our way. I'll tell you all about it and what kind of temperatures we'll be talking about as we head into your weekend. Terry, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Well, bad wiring set off a house fire on South 8th Street today. The family, though, did escape unharmed. An electrical issue caused the back of the house to catch fire. Now, the home is not a total loss, but it can't be lived in right now. Relatives say the fire is another blow for a family who has already suffered so much.
And the hardest part, you know, it's about to be Christmas time, and his dad a year ago had a brain aneurysm. He's just healing from that, and now they don't have a home.
The family had working smoke detectors which helped alert them to the trouble. And if you have a story you'd like us to look into, give us a call on our tip line. That number is 575-KIMA. You can also send an email to tips@KIMATV.com, and make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Well, it can be tempting to buy someone a puppy or a kitten for a Christmas gift, but that's not usually a good idea since pets are a lifelong commitment and the potential owner shouldn't take one on by surprise, and it's why the Humane Society is offering adoption gift cards. These can cover the cost of the adoption fee while still allowing the owner to choose their own pet.
It's a very individual thing. You want some animal that you really feel like you bond with and that they bond with you right away too, and you know, you can't always get that for somebody else.
Now, adoption fees range between $70 and $150 for dogs and $20 to $50 for cats. Each adoption comes with a package of services including spaying and neutering, as well as microchipping and registration. And you asked us for an update on the plans to bring a Krispy Kreme to Yakima. It was first announced this summer. Well, the franchise owners plan to open 3 of them in eastern Washington. The first will be in Richland in the spring. The goal is to open one in Yakima before the end of next year, and they're still working on a potential location. Well, 2 states are asking the U.S. Supreme Court to block Colorado's legal marijuana law. Nebraska and Oklahoma filed a complaint saying the voter-approved measure violates federal law. The states aren't suing over our state's marijuana law because they don't share a border with Washington. But Attorney General Bob Ferguson issued a statement saying he would vigorously oppose any effort to interfere with I-502. And operators of some medical marijuana facilities in Washington state say a lack of regulations could mean an end to their programs. State lawmakers haven't created a licensing system for sales of medical marijuana like they have for recreational pot. Now, because of that, some cities are threatening to close medical producers and sellers. One program in jeopardy is called Leaf of Hope. It makes medical pot products for sick children.
Now that we've got a regulatory market and recreational, putting medical into that should be an easy, we're just talking about some rules now.
How to regulate medical marijuana could be a hot topic when the state legislature goes back into session next month. And
scrape it off.